What we're doing today is we are kitbashing some Chaos Renegade Ogryns. Now, I was going to make a video on this, and I will make one for next week, but if you saw my post yesterday, I recently started a new job, and then I went and did the very intelligent thing of getting myself sick. So, in my infinite wisdom, I thought, oh, I'll just build this guy for myself. Not a problem. It probably won't even look that good, you know? It'll be fine. And lo and behold, this is actually one of my favourite kit bashes that I've ever done. And I didn't record it. So, I decided, screw it. We're gonna do it again. So, this is a old man-eater ogre from the Warhammer range. I think Age of Sigmar just has the ogres again, but just slightly different, though I think the models are pretty much, for the most part, the same. But as you can see, they are incredibly large, and if we grab an ogre, an actual Warhammer 40k Ogryn, you can see that there is a considerable size difference. Height-wise, they're about the same, but you can see obviously the Ogryns are a lot more lean, they're muscular, whereas the ogres are quite chubby. So, what's the plan? What are we going to do? And how did I get this fat git in the armor? Well, unfortunately for this guy, he has to go under some pretty intense surgery. We're going to need knives, we're going to need clippers, we're going to need all kinds of things. But we can pull that off because I have actually got another set of Ogryn armor, or rather this is Bullgryn armor. So the Ogryns, which are in the lighter gear and don't have these big chest plates, they are typically known as the standard Ogryns. And then you have Bullgryns, which are Ogryns with this big armor, and they have the giant slab shields in front of them. Now, if we grab our fantasy ogre and we try to put the armor on it, we can see there is absolutely no way this is going to fit. It's just simply not possible. But I have proof here that it is. Now, we do have a bit of a breakage here, which isn't too much of a problem. On the other side, it is complete. Let me see if I can get a good shot of that for you. Okay. And that's the other side that is just broken off. It is possible. Now, what I had to do was I pretty much had to carve out the entirety of his hips, his chest, and part of his back, so that we could get the armor on. And we also had to carve out a lot of this excess plastic that is in the armor. Now you can see here, this is quite thick. This is very, very thick. And so a lot of this plastic we don't actually need. This is just designed so that it fits snugly onto the Warhammer 40k Ogres. But we're not doing that, we need the room. So we can carve that out too. And somewhere along the line, that is going to enable us to get this onto the body. So this is going to look a little scary if you're not used to this kind of heavy kit bashing. But I am just going to start with getting rid of this circular part for the belly. Now, if you're wondering what that is for, the man-eater ogres have big old belly plates, which look a little bit like this. There are several variations of them, of course, but this one we are keeping because this reminds me of the World Eaters, which is going to be perfect for aligning our Chaos Ogryns into the more chaotic faction. There we go, there's words. As opposed to just looking like more brutal standard Ogryns. So, what we're going to do is we just want to follow where the leg is. If we can avoid cutting into the leg, that's going to be great, because we still want these guys to look quite chunky. So, we're just going to go in with the clippers and just start cutting away here. And same up the top. Okay, and be quite ruthless with it. Don't worry about it too much, because we are going to cover a lot of the damage up. And if you're like me and you're not particularly confident or great with green stuff yet, as far as resculpting is concerned, you will be able to cover all of this up extremely easily so that it looks believable. Now you can already see we've made quite a significant change. We're now going to get rid of this top part of the circle. Just like that. And if you are creating sprue goo, these chunks are going to be perfect for it. You can just add the sprue goo right. You can just add the bits of plastic right into your glue, which will then make your sprue goo. Speaking of, where is mine? Glue would be very helpful. So here we are. We have our Tamiya Extra Thin. This is a standard glue that I use for most of the work. And then we have my sprue goo. And if any of you are not familiar with sprue goo, this is simply just the Tamiya Extra Thin with the plastic from spare sprues melted into it to create something that looks a bit like this. Okay? And essentially what we use that for is in a similar way to like you would use mortar for bricks. Okay, and that's going, when that finally dries and cures, it creates this solid bond between two pieces of plastic. It's fantastic stuff, and I really think everybody should be using it. So, we're just going to carve this side out a bit more. Like I said, don't be too worried about this, okay? It looks really drastic, and it is. Okay? And these models are not cheap. But, if you want a unique army, and you want something that is going to be... that's going to stand out, and it's going to create memories for people, you have to take these measures. Okay? Okay, so that's that circular section out. Okay? A good way to see how you're doing is to constantly dry fit. Okay? You can see we're not even close on here. And then for the front, you can see how that is already willing to sit much closer to the torso than it was before. Now, our major problem is that the chest area is too wide and the hips are too wide. Okay? Now the reason for that is because the hips on these models for the ogres are designed in such a way that the arms fit right into it. But we don't really need that. Okay? So get in there and just cut off his love handles. Again, it's pretty extreme. And I'm sure someone is screaming. And if that's you, I'm sorry. But not that much. This will look great by the time it's done. I'm going to go right round to the back, okay? Do that on both sides. And just carve your way around it. Try not to get too far into where the arms are going to go, because we're going to use that as a guide for whatever limbs that we use, because we will be using the ogre parts. Okay, so that's the hips shaved down, and look at that. Look how much closer that is already moving into. Okay, and you can see from the front, all of that damage is going to be obscured. Okay, the armor is going to cover all of this torso area, and the bottom part of the hole for the stomach is going to be covered by the tracks. Although I do want to try something out a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that. So let's put that over there for now. Our next point is the chest. We want all of this to be flat so that the chest plate can sit right on there. So unfortunately, this man's going to lose his nips, and I don't think even Slaanesh is going to be happy about that. But we're not doing this for Slaanesh today. This is for Khorne, and Khorne wants skulls, not nips. So off they go. Alright. Let's have another look. Okay. We are doing quite well. We might need to take a bit more off of the hips. But before I do that, I want to start working on the armor itself. Like I said, there's a lot of extra plastic on this. Okay, you see all of this area here, right up to the point. All of this, we don't actually need it. So this can all go. So we're just going to get right in there again. Now, a word of caution when you do this. If you're going to give this idea a shot, this does make what is left quite fragile. So it will bend around quite a lot, and it takes a little bit of work. You're going to have to use your clippers and your knife together in order to do it. Okay, now because we are doing this for Chaos, a little bit of wear and tear isn't going to be too much of a problem, but at the same time you don't want to accidentally cut off half of the strap, because then that means you have to kitbash something that will replace it. Now if you want to do that, absolutely go ahead and do it. It's your model, do what you like. But for what we're doing today, I don't want to lose those parts. I'm just going to go in with the knife now. This is a fresh blade. And we're just going to take our time carving out chunks. Okay, this is going to be pretty heavy on your blades. So if you have your premium stuff, you may want to not use the premium and rather get some of the cheaper ones. You can get these blades in massive batches, so it's not too much of a problem to wreck a few carving this up. Again, just switch between the two, okay? So sometimes use your knife, sometimes use your clippers, and then always dry fit it. We're going to take some off of the bottom sides now. If you guys are just joining, we are making some Chaos Ogryns out of the Warhammer Ogryn, sorry, not Ogryn, the Warhammer Ogors from the Man-Eater tribes, or if you're Age of Sigmar, I think it's just Ogres now. I'm not quite sure. Mr. Carnage, how are you, my man? It's always good to see you. I always get excited when I see your comments on my videos. Chaos, yeah, I can't stay away from it. I love it. So this is where we're at so far. Again, it's pretty brutal. But let's just try and fit that on there. You can see, look at that. We're getting much closer, and you can see now how the straps are beginning to go around the face, and you can really see how that works. Okay, again, for the reference, this is the one that I did when I was sick. And I decided that I didn't need to record it. Which was a very dumb move to make, because this is one of my favourites. But, there we go. So, we still need to take a bit more off. I'm thinking we're going to go from the armour again. And we're just gonna brutalize it a bit, I think. It's messy work, but it gets the job done. Just when you're doing this, it is very easy to get your knife jammed and rip off half your finger and cut yourself. So just be extremely careful. And this is another benefit of making sure that you are using fresh scalpel blades, okay? A sharp blade will never do as much damage to you as a blunt one. A blunt one will always make a mess of you. But just take your time, okay? You don't want to take too much plastic off at once anyway, because you need to constantly dry fit everything. Mr. Carnage, what are you working on at the moment? I keep meaning to stop by in your videos, and then I've got to admit I get distracted and I forget. What's your projects? Because you do some really crazy and wacky stuff. I love seeing it on the old Instagram. Just going to smooth this out so it sits on them shoulders nicely. Everything. Yeah, I guess that's the case when you kitbash and you're doing everything. I swear, I've made a few videos on stuff and only like 3 of the models that I've made videos on are actually painted. It's a nightmare. I've actually got a whole bunch of stuff on my desk right in front of me that you can't see that I haven't finished yet. For example, the Screaming Pig Emperor's Children Noise Marine that I was making before the Emperor's Children got their stuff released. So I really do need to get on with it. So maybe if we can get these streams going when I have free time around my new job, we can get some painting done as well. Because I've got a lot of outstanding things to do. Okay, let's carve away at this neck portion. Behind camera, still working on Trench Crusade coffee table board. Oh, that's going to be incredible. Few kitbashes of Stargrave and Wargames Atlantic. Yeah, I do like the look of their models. I just haven't got any yet. Yeah, that's going to be great stuff, man. You do really good work. If this stubborn piece could come off, that would be great. That's another little tip for you to stop you accidentally cutting yourself. If you have a piece that gets, and your knife gets jammed, just come at it from the other side, okay? You can always fix it up later on. It's better than carving a chunk out of your finger. Okay, let's do another fitting. Get that out of the way. Okay, we're getting there. So what is happening is where we've chopped off the nips because we're not doing Slaanesh, you can see this section is what is preventing us from getting that in. So that is where we need to focus our efforts. So let's just keep going. It's slow work, you know, when you're carving away, unfortunately. But it gets the job done. I'm just trying not to corrupt my footage. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. To be honest, I am just a rookie. I haven't got a clue what I'm doing half the time. And, you know, I can make an interesting model and I can talk a lot of stuff, but when it comes to video editing, man, off. Video editing is a nightmare. I'll get there eventually. But I always feel like it's not good enough, so I'm always glad when I see people like it. I guess that's the self-talk kicking in. Yeah, we've got a bit of a stuck chunk there, so let's cut that off from the other side. And just keep going at it. Now you can see I'm using my finger here to brace against this strap because, as I said earlier, as you remove more and more of the material, it's going to become very fragile. So because I have to use so much force to carve away at it, I don't want to accidentally snap it. So I'm putting in some counter pressure with my other finger. Okay, but as you do that, just be careful because if you slip, it's going to make a mess. Okay, so we've taken quite a lot of material. Here we go. This is a good way of showing what I mean. Okay, see how much thinner that is now, and if I can get a good shot, if my phone will focus. There you go. There's still quite a lot of support, but it can give very, very quickly. Let's give that another shot. I think a lot of our problem now, we still have a bit of an issue with the pectorals. We might just cut another bit off of that, but I just need to get around his beard because I glued his head on first. And I think we need to take a bit more off of the hips too. We've lost a little bit off of here, but that's okay, that's not a problem. So let's take out these hips a bit more. Them hips don't lie. Stop chatting waffles. Oh, suit yourself. 9 more people in. Yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let me know what projects you're working on. Okay, I'd love to hear it. And if you've got any questions, don't be shy. I can make up an answer. Whether or not it's the right one is another question, but I'll work something out. But thank you again, Mr. Carnage. Always love to see you around. So I'm just going to take all of this excess material off, because that is going to be in the way when we go to do the back. And as I said, we're going to fill this in a little bit too. And I'm just going to take a little bit off the pectoral area. I just came very close to ripping off the man's beard. Okay, let's give this another shot. Slip that up. Approach things you never thought of. I am just making up as I go along, but I'm always glad that I can help someone out. Now, of course, this guy's mutton chops are right in the way, and I can't get his stupid armor on because of his mutton chops. Now, you see, when I did this one, we could work around him. So, this means we have a couple of options, okay? We can thin down the armor even more and try and get it around. Or, and I think this is what I did with the other one, is what I actually did was I take off some of, let me just move so you can see, some of this shoulder, like a really big chunk of the shoulder, sort of along here, okay? And again, it's extremely drastic, but the point is that the armor is going to cover all of that up anyway, and that is what's going to sell the size. So as long as the armor can get in, the body itself is irrelevant in this regard. So let's not waste time. Have a little bravery test, like Bob Ross always said, and just carve that out. And look at that. That is a terrifying thing to see. Okay, and we're going to do it on the other side. Okay, what we are doing is we are creating grooves for the armor to move into. Okay, just kind of, almost like that. You can kind of see it beginning to show. Okay. So let's take off a little bit more. And we're just going to smoothen these areas off. Okay, let's have another look. Alright, we are almost there actually. Look at that. I think we just need to take some off of the bottom part of the armor. So, just like we did up the top where we thinned all of this out, we need to do the same on the bottom, because it's catching on what's left of the hips, and I don't want to remove from the body if I can do it with the armor itself, because the inside of the armor no one is going to see. Whereas on the body, you will see the edges of it. So let's just get some of this shredded plastic out of the way. And we are just going to take off shavings. Okay, all of this area, we don't need any of that. Okay. Just be very careful. You can see, okay, you can see here, I went in at a bad angle, and you can see how this has come off, right? You can see how that's curling. We don't want that, but that's easily fixable. You just get some glue in there and it will be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to put my thumb there, just to, or my finger, whichever works best, just as a bit of a guide, and then just slowly take off the material in thin layers. Okay, if you go in at a wrong angle like that, you're going to end up cutting right through it and just removing a section that you want to keep. All we're trying to do is get rid of the excess and leave all of the nice detailed parts that we had before. Okay, that's looking a lot better. And for that bit, just a bit of good plastic glue will just fuse that back together. It's not a problem. So we're going to come back in on the other side and do the same thing, though unfortunately I am kind of struggling a bit. Just bring this towards us. This is just like paring an apple. Just take your time. There is absolutely nothing wrong with cutting towards yourself if you do it properly. Okay? In fact, it's actually the proper way to do it for this kind of thing. So you can see I have a proper grip on here. And we are just taking off small layers. Now, why is it actually safer? A few guys have actually done videos on this recently. I think Varian might have done one, if I remember right. And when you are cutting away from yourself, you're actually putting in a lot more pressure. Okay, you put in so much more pressure, and you are cutting downwards as well. So it's so much more easier if I just simulate this to catch here and then slip and then go straight into your finger. Whereas if you are coming towards yourself, you have much more control. Now you might slip and catch your thumb a little bit, but nowhere near as dangerous. It will get to you and then it will stop. Whereas if you're going away from yourself and you go into your finger, it will continue to go through for as much whatever force is remaining when you were pushing away from yourself. So that, in this area, is why it is safer. It's just when you are young, that is why we're taught to cut away from ourselves when we're young. Because when we're younger, it's usually the better option. But once you get to a certain age and a certain skill set, cutting towards yourself becomes a better way of controlling the blade. So I'm doing less of like trying to pull it towards me, and I'm trying to actually curve the blade around. Because if I just try and bring it straight down as itself, like a guillotine, it gets stuck. Whereas when you turn it, it is almost like a slicing motion, because as it turns, the blade will move along it in a plane that will help to slice it. Now this particular bit does not want to get off, so I'm going to stop rambling about knife safety, and we're just going to get that out. And now we have removed so much more plastic from here. So have a look at that. Look how much thinner that is. Here's the back end, right? We haven't modified the back yet. Right, look how much thicker and sturdier that is in comparison to what we've done to the front. Now, once it's on the model, it won't really matter. Here's our chopped up ogre, and let's move that. So, you can see it wants to. I think our problem is actually the beard, ironically. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to work on the back piece of the armor first before we do anything else, okay? I don't want to do too much to the front and nothing before we do anything on the back, because you might end up taking too much away, and then you have to find ways to fill in the gap between the body and the armor afterwards. So we're going to treat this exactly the same as we did before. We are going to carve away any excess material, which is going to give us the room to get around the ogre. Then we will continuously dry fit it until it sits where we need it to be. If we need to modify the ogre, we will, and we probably will have to take off all of this material in his back. So almost nothing of the actual ogre's torso will end up remaining. But it doesn't matter, because we then have him in Bullgrin armor, which is instantly going to transport him from the Fantasy or Age of Sigmar setting into the 40k setting. So let's just get in there. Take your time, make sure that you've got a good grip. And we're going to take off the excess on the other side as well. Okay, we are struggling a little bit with that right now. So I think we're going to switch to the knife again. Again, just be very, very careful. Take your time. There is absolutely no reason to rush. Okay. And let's just finish off what we were doing on this side. So this is all of the kind of stuff I normally cut out of the videos, because nobody's got time to sit around for 4 hours for a normal video. But let's try and get this on there. So we want that to sit on there. We need it to come over where we've cut down the shoulders. Let's let that adjust itself. There we go. So we need it to come to where we've cut down the shoulders, and it's not quite there yet. Okay. So what I am going to do is remove this section. Okay. Get rid of the shoulder blades and all of that muscle area. That fat muscle. We don't need it. I mean, to be honest, at this point, if you really wanted to, you could have just stuck them on some green stuff and attached the head to it and called it a day. But these models, they come with the torsos and the legs attached, so you have to work around that. Okay, so you can see here we've got a big gap here. Okay, we're able to get in we're able to make the back flush with the armor, but why is it not getting in? And the problem is the neck area and a lot of the armor. So let me just have a look at what I did here. I think what we need to do is we need to thin this out some more. And keep at it from there. We have to thin it down quite a lot more, to be honest. Just take your time. And all of this material can go too. So let me see if I can get in there with I might be able to just sort of carve it up a little bit, which means we can then start removing it with the knife. Chris, hello, how are you? Welcome on in. How has your day been? Are you working on any kitbashing projects yourself? Okay, and now that we've made them grooves, we can begin to just carve away, and it gives something for the knife to eat at. And you can see here, I've actually got myself stuck. So don't force it. If it gets stuck, just remove it, take your time, okay? Come at it from another angle. And there we go. Now you can see I'm sure this getting pretty close to my thumb, but I have complete and utter control. So it's not actually touching my thumb at all. It's actually going under my thumb. So we're quite safe. We're going to change direction again and just continue removing this armor. Oh, you just started? Oh, over on Canada. Hello. How are you? I'm over in the UK. This is in England. Not very far away from Cambridge. I watch a few people in the evenings over over in Canada. So that is awesome to hear. I love it. It absolutely baffles me sometimes that I can sit here in my room with these silly little plastic toys and talk to someone all the way on the other side of the world. Blows my mind. I do have to warn you though, that the future is weird. So you might want to stay where you are and just not advance time anymore. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Let's work on the other side. Again, I have full control of the blade, making sure that it goes precisely where I want it to be. Except when I don't, apparently. That's what's great about Warhammer community, brought together by minis of plastic grey, absolutely. And if we're lucky, they might even get painted. Maybe. Yeah, I have never had a bad day in this community. I started off when I was a kid in school, I went away for a while, and then I came back, I think nearly 2 years ago now. And here we are. Let's have another look at our ogre. How is this sitting on him? Okay, this is much closer. Or at least we have the room to go around the hips, but we are hitting that roadblock in the neck area. So I think what I'm going to do is remove this section just underneath the neck. Traitor Guardsman, hello, how are you? Every chaos conversion must have a blood offering. Corn is displeased. Well, I did chop off the ogre's nips, so Slanesh is pretty upset too. How are you? It's good to see you. Okay, I just want to be careful that I don't accidentally behead my ogre. Although that might actually make Corn pretty happy. Come on. Off you come. Okay, let's give that a go before I take off a little too much. We are still having issues. I think we might have to remove some of this armor. I'm thinking what we do here is, because if I cut too deep into the neck, we're just gonna behead the guy. So I think we should cut a section of the armor out just around here so that we still have the straps and then just go from there. Do I play or just like to... so I just build. I don't play anymore. I played when I first started Warhammer in school, which was back in... let me see, I think it was about 2009, 2010, so somewhere around 5th edition was when I actually last played the game. And now I'm just completely overwhelmed by everything. So, the plan is, because back in the day my army was always the Emperor's Children, is I am very slowly building a Slanesh army so that if ever I wanted to play the game, I have the models on the correct basis to play. But for me, I just enjoy playing, I just enjoy building. So, to take out this section, you're absolutely right, mark it out here. I have just lightly scored it with the hobby knife, although you can't really see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make tiny little cuts. Okay? We don't want to do anything too big. We're just going to make little ones, and this is just to break up that armor without taking off too much. And we come in at both sides and meet in the middle, and let's take that off. And there we are. So that's not too bad. Let's just clean it up a little bit. But what about you, Chris? What do you like to do? Do you build and play, or do you just build? How do you like to do your hobbying? We are still having a few troubles. Let's try with this piece. Can we get them together? Oh, very, very close. Very, very close. Now, if you guys were here at the beginning, you would see that they did not touch at all. And now we are almost there. You play and painting. Painting's always a nightmare, right? Painting can be fun in its own way, but it can be a bit of a challenge. Okay, so we're in a good spot. I think my issue is the hips again. I think we need to take a bit more out, because you can see we're sort of connecting at the top, but not at the bottom there. So we're just going to take that off. It's a little drastic again, but don't worry about it. Be brave. It's only plastic. I almost just tried to carve the entire guy in half. It might only be plastic, but we would like some to remain. And there we go. Now guys, if you are getting anything from this, or you're enjoying yourself or anything like that, please do give the stream a like. It should, in theory, help YouTube push it a little bit more if you haven't already. That would be super awesome. And if you're not subscribed and you want to see more, please do consider subscribing. I have a whole playlist of kit bashes. There's a little bit of painting involved, but it's pretty much just kit bashing. And if you like that sort of thing, I have a lot more to come. So for example, right now we're doing Chaos Ogryns. I have done a Renegade Ogryn before, right in the very early days of the channel. I've got a couple of Slaanesh videos, and one of the big ones is a series on Fallen Angels, or my take on a Fallen Angel. You bought the Emperor's Children box set from local hobby store for your birthday back in May, and it remains. Do you know what? We are pretty much the same, okay? I really wanted the box for my birthday, which is also in May. Mine's right at the beginning. You played Dark Angels and Grey Knights otherwise. Awesome. Two great factions. My parents were out one day, not even looking for a Champions of Slaanesh box, and they went into just a random hobby store, and the guys had like 3 boxes there, so they went and got me one, and I think I've built maybe 2 guys. Or like I've built 1 guy and he's not even fully assembled or painted yet, and I've got like 3 others in bits planned out. But yeah, Fallen Angels is the other one that I've built a lot of, and later on down the line maybe look into some Red Corsairs. I do like Red Corsairs quite a lot. let's... Ooh, we went a little bit low here. Okay, so this is a little concerning. It's not a problem. We can fix this. We can cover it up. We can fix it in many ways. Like I said, we have the sprue goo available. And if you look at... The store was so random that... yeah. Here's the one that I did. You can see that I have used muslin. Okay, muslin is the key here. This has covered up a lot of the work that we've done. Now, if you want a clean looking model, this isn't necessarily the way for you to go. And if you are good at sculpting with green stuff, I am terrible. Did we just become best friends? Sure we did, absolutely. We can be best friends. But the muslin is going to cover this up. I prefer a more grim, dark aligned setting, so I haven't really got a problem with something that looks quite brutal and ragged and torn. That's quite appealing to me. I'm a bit of a horror fan, so for me that's great. For you guys, if you like that, that's awesome. Carry on as per usual. If you are more aligned to something like the heavy metal style where it's clean and smooth, then you are going to have to spend quite a bit of time re-sculpting things with milliput and green stuff for something that is this heavily pulled apart. But anyway, let me just have a look here. Let's have a see where we're at. So the top almost connects. It's almost right there, but you can see we're going to need a bit of work around the neck. So what will happen is we will use some green stuff to flesh it out, and then we will put the muslin on top of it, okay? If you're not familiar with the term muslin, muslin is essentially cheesecloth. It's just another name that we use for it. And you can see that it's very, very close there. This side is pretty much coming together. So what I need to do is just cut again, but not this low. That was a mistake. What we want to do is cut about here where the belt is. So I'm just going to seesaw this with my hobby knife. Okay, now I'm not putting in too much pressure because we could slip, carve ourselves open, and then we've accidentally become a champion of corn. And we're saving this for the ogres, not for me. So we are going to do this. We're going to rock this back and forth, and we're just going to angle it up a little bit. And essentially what we're going to do, we're going to come in from the other side, okay, and go from the top down. And we're basically cutting a wedge. Just be very careful. Take your time. Secret Fallen Angel armies, only 1,000 points, made up Horus Heresy models and Dark Angels bits. Very nice. You love the red corsairs? Yeah, I guess we're just pirates, aren't we? You know. There we go. Kindred spirits. Met on the battlefields of YouTube. Okay. So we're carving that out. Just take your time. It's not too much of a problem if this takes a while. Okay, and again, I know this looks extremely drastic, and it is. These models are not cheap. But if you want something unique, something that stands out, sparks memories, creates friendships, you've got to take the chance. So this is that. We are still a little bit out. Just a little bit. We're almost there. What I think we're going to do, 8 boxes of Trader Guard Kill Team last year. Looking at kitbashing the Chaos Ogryns with Ripper guns. Ooh, yes. Absolutely, that's fantastic. Ogryns are actually one of my favourite kits. The 40k Ogryns, they are incredible. Plus you always get bits for Nook Dead Dog, which is great. And then they go really well with, you've got the Necromunda Ogryns, you've got the ones from Kill Team. You've got these ogres as well if you want to just mix and match and just have a little bit more variety. It's incredibly good. And if you're doing what I've done here, you will recognize this as axe from the Orc Knobs. So there's so much versatility for them, it's incredible. Let's see. So, I forgot where I was going to cut, so let's just realign this. So I think we need a little bit in the neck area. What I need to do is smooth out some of these neck chunks, and also, if you can see here, what I want to do is remove material from this area that we've cut, but I don't want to take from this side, I only want to take from the inside, so it becomes quite thin like we do here. And hopefully that should help it fit snugly against the neck. So we're just going to slowly carve away. Again, take your time. We're in no rush. Okay, enjoy the process. And of course, try not to create a trench in your thumb or your finger. So I tend to often do half at a side. Take off that material. There we go. You could see the difference if the light will allow it. We're having a little bit of trouble focusing, but I think you get the idea. We're just going to deal with the other side now. And again, take your time. And just that chunk, please. There we go. Let's get that out of the way. And let's see how that fits up. The camera and lighting are fine. Lovely, thank you. Sometimes I get a little bit self-conscious. Oh, look at that. Look how snugly that fits on the top. Wonderful. So, the top end, we are basically done. We're just going to tidy it up around the neck area because we do have some jagged bits. But as far as that's concerned, that is done. We just need to get these sides done. And you know what? That area that I said I didn't want to cut, I'm thinking we cut it. And then we'll just fill it in later on with muslin and chunks of green stuff. So, in fact, that's a very dumb idea. Let's not do that. Sometimes I just have to remind myself to use my brain and be, or at least attempt to be safe. And we're going to take this off too. That should be plenty. Okay, let's get that on there, and we want this on here. We're almost there. Oh, okay, this is quite interesting. Okay, so we can see here what is actually holding us back is the tank tracks on the legs. Now, interestingly enough, I have an idea for that. Now, we could carve away at the lower leg and just have that sit flush. I didn't need to do that for this one, but each of the Bullgrin chest plates are slightly different in how they're designed, so they all sit a little bit differently on each model. And of course we are making such heavy modifications that we are always bound to run into little hiccups. What I'm thinking, first of all, I just want to take a little bit off the top here, just to get that out of the way. Let's have another look. Okay, because we can always shift things around to where they need to be. So like here, if we put the front on, we can actually get it to sit very, very high. But then when we put the back on, it comes down quite a bit lower. Let's see. Actually, I think we are about there. Just about. We're very, very, very close. So we need another chunk out of this hip. About here. Trim that gut a bit more. I'm thinking the lower end of that gut does need to go too. I think you're right. Story of my life. Trim that gut, eh? Yeah. Yep, I think you're right. Where's my clippers? Here they are. We're just going to take this bit off. Okay, so what is happening is this tank track is hitting the legs, and interestingly enough, something that I wanted to add on, or what I wanted to see that I could add, is this. Now this, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. This is from the old Demon Prince. Now it could be a little long, and but I think with a bit of modification we could. Actually, on second thoughts, I'm not sure that's a good idea. We would have to do a lot of modifications. Yeah, let's not do that. I've changed my mind now. It was a cool idea, but it wasn't the right one, and that's fine. That's the joy of kitbashing. Sometimes you're like, oh, what about this bit? It doesn't always work. But we can make or use something that is quite similar. But what's happening is these tank tracks is hitting the legs. Okay, now we have to be very careful because people are going to see that. So, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. I should have learnt that. I just watched Space King episode 3. That's pretty much the whole premise. So I'm just going to take flat shavings off the top of the thigh there, and then I'm just going to do a little bit of scraping just to round it off a little bit, just so that when we're looking at it from the sides, it doesn't look like a flat thing. Fowler scraped the back of the tank track. Yes, actually, now that you say that out that loud, yeah. You're right. Spoilers. Spoilers? Hey, look. If you're not, oh dear. Oh, Nightbot's assassinated you. You're okay. You're fine. I still have to work out a lot of the kinks with Nightbot yet, so you're okay. You're fine. You saw it too? Good, right. I was going to get worried that you've not been doing your duties to Space King. What did you do? Nightbot got upset with your caps lock. I gotta fix it. You're fine, don't worry. I'll give it a slap later. So yeah, let's do what was suggested here. Where's my file? We're just going to take off some of this. Just get a little aggressive with it. Let's have a look. Yep, let's do it the right way around. That goes up there. Hand isn't cooperating. We'll get there. We'll slap it into submission. So we are almost there. I think we're just going to take a little bit off the leg area and we're good. Oh, you're not late, don't worry. You turn up exactly when you're supposed to. Thanks for coming by. How are you? We are just working on some Chaos Ogryns. I have done a Renegade one on the channel in the past, but these ones are going to go full Chaos. I'm not quite sure about mutations yet, but we'll have a see. I'm just going to try and follow the direction that they've got the fabrics going here. And let's give this another shot. Oh, we are right there. I think we can just be bold and cut it. I think we can just take that bit off. We're just going to scrape that in. There we go. And then just tidy up those edges. Shouldn't be too visible with the tank tracks, but let's just be sure. Oh, it's right there, you tease. You're a tease. You're supposed to be corn, not Slanesh. I think we just need a little bit more. We are doing absolutely fine. Thank you very much. Let's just do a little bit here. Give this another one. We are so close to this armor fitting our Ogren, or our old ogre. Do you know what? You know what? I'm happy with that. I think once we've got some once we've got a bit of green stuff in there, and we've got a bit of muslin going and the arms are on, I think we're going to be fine. There are going to be a little bit of gap, I think, as long as one end is properly connected. If we can have 3 out of 4 connections, we'll be just fine. It isn't perfect, but it's pretty good. Let's just tidy up this mangled neck area. And let's give that another shot. Okay, we're pretty much there. I think, if anything, I think our issue is now in the back. I think there's a bit more material we can take off of here. I think it's just along here. So we're just going to shave that down. Ah, okay. Here we go. We are learning. So, let's see if I can show you this on camera. What we've got here, where this armor is coming down and around to go around the waist, it is catching on here, on this little corner right here. Let me just align this and show you again. Do you see where they are catching? Just on the lower hips there. Sort of round more towards the buttocks. So this is what's blocking us. Now, I've got to be careful because I have just carved a little bit into the arm joint. And I'm going to do the same this side. Just carve it down and then cut it off. Okay, that's looking good. We're basically there. We're basically there. Same again. I'm just going to remove this. Oh. Oh, yeah. There we go. Flabby waistline. Fantasy Ogryns seem to eat better. No corpse touch in the diet. Yeah, absolutely. You see, that's because the Fantasy Ogres, they've got them little noblars to run around collecting all their food for them. That's basically their own version of Gretchen, just with less senses of humour and a lot moodier. Look at that. We are basically done. Now that isn't quite connecting, and I'm not too worried about that because we did lose a bit of material. We did have a bit of material break off of here, and that's not too much of a problem. 3 of 4 connection points are basically touching, and once we have all of the other things in place, like the muslin and the green stuff, we'll be just fine. Okay, so for reference, here is the one that I did last week when I was sick and decided that I wasn't going to record this because I'm a genius. You can see 1, 2, and there is a third one just under the arm there. Those 3 points are all connected, and we do have one little bit of damage here. If you really wanted to, you could go in there with a bit of plasticard and fix that up. I haven't decided if I'm going to put in the time to do that or not. I might not. I might just leave it as damaged. But essentially, that is about it for the chest piece to get it on. Never mind any battle damage or modifications to the outside. So let's put our just for reference here. Yeah, this guy he has had a hard time. Okay, that just gives you an idea of how much material we have been removing. Okay, because all of these bodies are basically the same. Okay, it really is a bravery test, and when I did that first one, it was a gamble. But it worked, and it paid off. Okay, so that sort of gives you an idea. We don't really need to spend any time sort of smoothing a lot of these sections out. Thank you very much. I do try. I hope you guys are gaining some knowledge or information or even just ideas from this. Ultimately, that is my goal. It's not just to make cool things, but to encourage and inspire people to do the same and show them some techniques to be able to do that, right? Because this isn't an easy thing to do, because you're no longer using the rule books. You know, we're breaking the rules to follow the rules, so to speak. So now we need to start going more towards the battle damage, grim, dark, chaos alignment. And as always, first things first is to remove any Imperial iconography. You can keep the skulls if you want. This is Khorne after all, so skulls are pretty cool. But do remove the wings, unless you're doing something like a fallen angel or something of the kind where it may want that. But for our purposes, I am going to remove it. And for that, I'm just gliding the blade along it, along where the wing is, trying to essentially get under that layer of plastic to remove it. Now, if I can keep the skull there, we might try and do that. Okay, then what we do is we scrape the surface down with our blade just to make it flush. So, if you can see here, let me get the plastic off of my blade. If you can see here, this bit closest, you can see where it's not quite flat because I haven't scraped there yet. And then along here, this is now pretty much flush with the rest of the plastic. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Okay, and this is going to help sell the illusion that the armor was always like that, or that the model was always like that in the first place. Lovely, so that's one down, and then we just take off the other one. I like this one has the welded section. That is also going to help us later on because we have a broken bit off here. So if this has been welded on, this seems to be a pretty common cause for this particular Ogryn. Just take your time there, no rush. And then we're gonna flatten that down. Now if you want to go in there with files and sandpapers to get that really smooth finish, you absolutely can, but I'm doing Grim, Dark and Chaos. I'm not worried about a bit of texture. In fact, I actually quite like texture. Okay, so that is the Aquila removed. Is it the Aquila or the Imperialis? I always get the two mixed up. But the wings have been removed, so we just have the skull, and that is going to be plenty enough for us in that regard. So, what's next? How do we make this more chaosy? Okay, we could go down the line of mutations. Okay, mutations are always an option. We could add spikes and horns, we can add grisly trophies, all kinds of things. I'm thinking, I promise. I'm not sure what I'm thinking about, but I am thinking. I'm not sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a few bullet holes while we're waiting. Well, while we're thinking of ideas, let's make some bullet holes. So I have a drill here. I have a drill bit in the drill, which is usually helpful. That's how drills work. I can't remember what size it is. I kind of just put the one bit in there and then just left it in there for months. So I have no idea what size this is. But we are going to just get in there and make a few extra bullet holes. Now, I don't want to drill too deep. We don't want to go all the way through. Okay. This one can go a little bit more. Now, you can drill straight down. Okay. So this is great for any slugs that have had a direct hit. And then what you can do, okay, give yourself a little bit of a pilot hole so that your drill doesn't slip. Okay. I'm just gonna do this. Now, if you are twisting your knife around, do be careful because the chances of you breaking off the tip of your blade are extremely high. But now that we have that pilot hole, we can now drill not just straight in, but at a slight angle. Now, this is going to take a little bit of work. Just take your time. If you put too much pressure, you're going to slip like what I just did. Sometimes it's good to go down a little bit and then just change the angle slightly. And essentially what we're trying to do is create the idea of a ricochet. That's good enough. So, the next phase. Bullet holes, we want them to be very similar to what we have already built in. So the edges are quite soft. Okay, and then we have these cracks that come out. Okay, so what I like to do is just go around the edge of the bullet hole, and what this is, you're just taking off that sharp edge that the drill has created so that it looks a little bit more natural, as natural as a bullet hole can be. There we are. Let me stop for a minute. Smith, you know what? This has inspired you. Okay, oh, that's awesome. This is basically all I'm here to do. I love to inspire people, so I'm super glad that you're inspired. That's great. Not touching Nurgle cultists in weeks. Gonna continue as a watch. Absolutely. Yeah, kitbash along with me. Let me know what you're doing. I love that. I don't really do Nurgle, to be honest. But if you want a little sneak peek, if you like, what I am trying to do, I went onto eBay and I bought this Nurgle body. And I'm actually going to convert this into a noise marine. As ridiculous as that might sound. Now, why would you want to... How could you make Nurgle into Slaanesh? That is a very good question. And why? Well, if you have watched any of my Slaanesh videos on the banner bearer, I mentioned in that video that I want my Slaanesh army to be incredibly unique, and I want every single model to be representative of a different circle of seduction in Slaanesh's realm, one of them being gluttony, right? And so I thought the Nurgle models would be a really good base because the Noise Marines are a lot bulkier than what they used to be. And so I wanted to lean into this sort of mouth area as a way for the soldier to consume things. And again here, the feet, like the divided feet that the what are these guys called? These Nurgle boys. Is it Plague Bearers? Or, no, I think that's the demon, isn't it? Anyway, these guys, they have these divisions in their boots, which is very reminiscent of the Emperor's Children, where they have sort of like hoofs for feet. And that's sort of the idea. It's a bit of a rough go, but I'm thinking it could work. So for example, here is a one of their power packs, and I've just slightly modified it so it would sit on there like so. And I've got a few other ideas in mind for it, but that is for another day. But that is about as far into Nurgle as I've ever really gone. But I am super glad that has inspired you. That makes me super happy. That means I'm doing my job. And I think anytime someone is inspired to do something, it is just amazing. So, back to these bullet holes. We've just gone around the edges, and now what we're going to do is we want to make these fractures, okay? So, we just want to make little grooves. Okay? Be very careful how you do it. You don't want to accidentally catch yourself or make them too big like I did this one. But that's okay. Okay, they can all be different lengths as well. Usually 3 is enough for the scale that we're working at. Any more than that and it looks weird. It's like you're trying to make a star. And any fewer than that, it's not quite right. Plague Marine, yeah, Plague Marine, there you go. Oh, a Space Marine that carries plagues, there we go. Plague Marine, you're absolutely right, thank you very much. That shows how much I don't really know about Nurgle. So yeah, we're just going to make these little fractures. Okay. And it just means when you're painting, your brush is going to catch onto something and it will highlight itself quite nicely. Okay. So what else we're going to do is we are just going to carve some irregular chunks out of the armor. Okay. We just want it to look a lot more worn. Okay, these guys don't go and get their armor fixed. They don't get it repaired or repainted or anything like that. If they're lucky, they might do some battlefield repairs. But they're not exactly going back to base. There we go. So that's looking good. Now I do want a little something on here. What I'm going to do is just make a little carving in here. When I'm doing this, I know the knife is going to jump. So I am intentionally making sure that my finger is underneath and actively turned away so that when it goes across, it isn't going to hit my finger, or it shouldn't, okay? So I always make sure that my finger is tucked out of the way. Okay, let's just scrape off that excess, and then we're going to go again. Okay, we've gone a little too deep there, it's gotten stuck. That's fine. We'll just carve that out, and then we'll just carry on. There we are. Do be extremely careful if you're trying this out. It isn't particularly safe. But then I'm not a very safe guy. I'm pretty reckless when I'm building stuff. And there we go. So now what we have here, by doing this, it actually looks like someone has tried to claw at the Ogryn during a fight, whether it's a knife or some claws or anything like that. Something has tried to scratch up the armor and left some pretty significant damage. Okay, now the problem that we can sometimes run into when we're adding our own battle damage is that it doesn't always fit in with any battle damage that has been designed onto the miniature. So, for example, we see here we've got these bullet holes here, right? This is here by design. This is what Games Workshop has, or Citadel has designed for us. Same up here, okay? Whereas some of my other ones don't necessarily fit in. And the reason for that is that the edges are too sharp. So to fix that, all you have to do is just run a very thin layer of your poly cement, whatever variant you use, whether it's Tamiya or Humble or whatever it is that you use. Just run that over the edges. And what that's going to do is it's going to take any of the superficial plastic fragments that are left, and it's just going to melt it back into the miniature and just soften those edges a little bit, and so everything else is going to look a bit more uniform. And you can use this technique to create some pretty intense battle damage, and I have a video going over that, which is for Tyranids. For Tyranid Chiton. And what I do there is I use the parts. We're going to do this bit here where it's broken. Just soften that down. It makes it look like the Tyranid Chiton actually has a lot of texture as opposed to the smooth stuff that we're used to. So, for example, here is the Tyranid, okay, that I haven't done the work on, right? You can see just how smooth this all is. And then here is another Tyranid, and look at all this battle damage. Okay, this ends up making it looking. This is great for Grimdark, or if you want something that looks like the Tyranids out of Space Marine 2, if you've played that. Okay, you have all of this texture, and your brush is gonna love it. It's gonna pick up all of that stuff. Let's see, where is... I do have one that I have partially painted somewhere. Here we go. There we go. So here is one that I've partially painted, and look at all of that texture on the Chiton. Okay, that is not painted in. Okay, to do that, what I've done is I've coated the armor in poly cement, and then I've gone over it with a wire brush. Okay, that is essentially how we get that, and I do that for a few layers. We go over it with a wire brush, and also a kind of pointy tool is also really helpful if you want something that's a bit more deeper. Where mine is right now, I'm not quite sure. But that's what I do. So if you want to check out that video, it ain't too shabby. It's a really cool idea, and I think you can do a lot with it by using the glue to actively destroy your model in order to create something that looks even better. So back to the Ogryn. That is the first chest piece. This is our ogre. Okay, and here is the back. So, for the back, I'm going to do what I did with the other one. So we're going to add some battle damage to it. But you can also see that on here, I added chains. Okay, now this is some chains that I bought from a charity store, like jewelry chain. And this is a particularly large one, as you can see for the scale. And that's because we're doing Ogryns. And the idea, in my head at least, is that what has happened is someone has chained this guy up, okay, to something. And one day he decided that he just didn't want to be chained up, and so he just broke free. And now we have this Ogryn running around. The chains are still hanging off of his armor, and he is now just going on a complete rampage. Maybe that was when he left the Loyalists and signed up with the Chaos guys. Maybe he acts as some kind of brutish bodyguard for a big cultist guy or some Space Marines, or maybe he's just a chief of a group of Chaos Ogryns that are wandering around. Who knows? But the joy of this is that you get to create your own story with it, which is just fantastic stuff. So let's get some battle damage on here. Okay, we don't need too much. It is the back. We want something, but we don't need to go too crazy. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to create a series of holes along the back in a sort of semi-diagonal line going down, and the idea here is that he was going along and someone had a slug-based weapon and just let rip against his back, and all the bullets hit him in the back going down, and then basically did nothing, and the guy probably just turned around and absolutely massacred the guy who shot at him. Okay, and this is what I like to do. This is how I kitbash. I like to make these little story ideas up to explain why I've made the decisions that I've made. Now, this isn't always lore friendly. You can make it lore friendly. You can make it as lore friendly as you like. It's your model. You do what you want to do. I will sometimes take from the lore, and then sometimes I will just create my own stories, because the universe is big enough that you can get away with quite a lot. Okay. And then we just want the fractures. So again, just come in, create those little triangular cuts with those diagonal slices. Like I said earlier, 2 to 3 per bullet hole should be more than enough. Out you come. Last one. There we go. That should be just about enough. Now let's just carve in a few little nicks just where things have been damaged. Any sort of irregularity, just to show how long these guys have been fighting. Well, that's looking pretty good. I think we just want a few little scrapes here and there. There we go. And I think just few like that, and do you know what, I think that is plenty. So we're going to soften all of those edges up again with some poly cement. Okay, and this stuff dries very quickly, and all we're doing is we're melting those edges just to soften them down, and also melt down any loose plastic fragments that might remain from us making the modifications. That should be plenty. Okay. Fantastic. We're looking good. So, next up, I think we need to start looking at the arms. Okay? This guy is going to need some weapons. And I want him to also have an axe. Kind of like this one that I did earlier. Okay, I like that they have the same kind of look and feel to them. Almost as if maybe they are... You know, maybe they're brothers. You know, who knows? I think that would be a really cool idea. So, in order to do that, I actually have another orc chain axe somewhere. Not this. This is a Mega Knob's Power Fist, which is not what we're using today. Here we are. That is a bit for later, so let's put that here. So this is the chain axe we're going to use from the knobs, from the orc knobs. Okay. And again, what this does is it helps take something that is based in the fantasy realm, whether it's the old Warhammer fantasy or the Age of Sigmar stuff, or even the old world that we have now. It just helps transport that into the 40k realm. So you have the Bulgarian armor, you've now got orc technology, which in my mind is crude and brutal enough that it would actually suit Ogryns quite well. Typically this isn't what they would use. They're often equipped with very simple weapons that are tough and hard to break. But I think for some of them, it's definitely worth doing. Okay, and you know, I definitely think it suits them. And again, it brings it into the 40k realm. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to take a bit of a break. We're just over 2 hours in. I think we can do a little bit more if my phone doesn't explode. We have 26% battery. Okay. I think... Let me just finagle a few things. Hopefully that won't explode the stream. Okay, so that's in. That's got a bit of charge. Screen has exploded, but it's come back. That's great. Let's realign this. And then I am going to go and take a quick break. I will be right back. In my infinite wisdom, I have not created any starting, ending, or break screens. So I'm just going to leave you here to look at this ogre. Again, if you are enjoying this and you are new to the channel, please subscribe to see more kit bashing videos. I will try and do more live streams as and when I'm able and I can fit it around my working schedule and producing videos. And again, if you're liking the live stream, please do like it. It's going to help YouTube push out a little bit further. Where are we at? We're about 2 hours 20. Just checking temperature. Okay, so phone's getting a little warm. We might be able to get another hour or so in. If we can get to a total of 4 hours, that would be nice. And what we're going to do here is we are going to look at weapons now. Okay, we're going to look at the arms. So let me go and get my Ogren, not my Ogren bits, my Ogre sprues. So I'm just going to run away a second, just over here. And wreck the entire joint. So, I'm just letting my hands breathe a little bit, because they're kind of suffocating the gloves. These are the bits that I have. Let's see. Let's zoom out just a little bit. So I bought all of these bits off eBay. I used to have a whole bunch of Ogryns, but I got rid of them when I stopped doing Warhammer. I think I gave all my stuff to my uncle. I keep meaning to get in touch with him and arrange getting them back, but we'll do that one day, maybe. He keeps trying to give them back to me. Nonetheless, here are our bits, and what we want to do, or at least what I did for the other one, was we had one of these quite brutal looking fists going, one of these. Okay, and that's what we've got going on the other one. And then the chain axe. Now I would have loved to be able to have had one like dual wielding. Be a bit of a brawler, but that isn't the case. So a standard arm with one of those fists is going to be great. And then for the weapon, what I did was I took a standard arm and then a hand with one of the weapons, say for example these. And to make this, what I did was I cut off the portion of the axe that I wanted. And then I cut off the portion of the weapon that I didn't want on the ogre piece. And then essentially I pinned them all together. And then the bottom part of this is just a bit of plastic rod, and I've wrapped it in this. Okay, now this is a big piece of waxed thread, okay? And this was when I was into making baskets and stuff, but I don't really have the hands for it right now. But that's what I used for this, and then I just wrapped it around it to give the impression of leather, and then I just put a whole bunch of super glue over it just to keep it all in place. And also, just to remove this sticky effect from this, because it's wax, so paint isn't going to sit on it properly. But by just doing the super glue, there should be enough to get it to work. So, let me flip the old gloves around. And we will start adding or creating our weapons. And once we have our weapons, we are in a position where it's good to start putting the actual Ogryn together. But the reason we're not putting the chest piece on first is because the chest piece does not like to go around the shoulders of the ogre model, because just like the rest of the model, it's far too big. So what we do is we put the arms in place, and then we dry fit the armor around it again and make any more modifications that we might need to make. So the armor is actually one of the last things that we add on. I'm just fiddling around with these gloves, just trying to get them back into the position I want them to be in. Alright. Let me just put that there. We're going to kitbash my entire bedroom now. Let's get this drawer out of the way. I see it's just a little bit high for it, and I don't need that there right now. And let's zoom back in. Put the mouse out of the way. We don't need that right now. Let's put it somewhere where it's not going to destroy the entire place. There we go, that should be okay. So, we need a couple of arms. First protocol is the big fist, mostly because that is the easiest one to do. And we have a few to choose from. Now, I don't want to do the same one as I did for the other guy, which is this one with the hook. So I'm thinking we could either do the straight edges or the big fist, and I'm thinking we could do the big fist. I'm just having a quick look at these other bits. Yeah. Yep, I'm thinking big fist. So let's get this out of the way. And where are my clippers? Here they are. We want one of those. And I think this arm will be fine for what we want. So this will go on here. Like so. Pretty straightforward. This, as you can see, will still connect into that section of where the arm has been built up, as we saw before. Okay, and then the armor, in theory, should just fit around it. But you can see getting the arm in after the armor is in place is a bit of a pain. And it's going to require a bit of modification. Okay, so first things first, we need to get rid of any mold lines. These are the older models, so the mold lines are quite thick. But removing this is going to be great. So, if any of you have any questions, this is a great time to ask, and I can attempt to give you guys a bit of advice, answer your questions, anything about kit bashing, whatever you want to know. Just sound off in chat. Let me know what you want to know. And we just want to Carve that a little bit. Try not to blow directly into the microphone for you. And I'm just gonna run the file over this real fast. Okay, I'm going in circles here, and I'm being quite light with this, obviously, because this is a metal file. It can take off a lot of material if you're not careful with it, but I've always used metal files. It's what I was taught to use, so I'm a lot more familiar with them. Okay, so that's that one, and then we have this bad boy. This is a mean looking guy. And there it is. Just want to make sure we can get as much of that mold line out of the way as possible, and of course any of these little chunks off of the sprue, we need those gone too. And I like to go around the edges of some plates like this because they tend to have just the tiniest amount of flash material on them. And sometimes just going over them can help get them off. I'm just going to redefine this little cut in the armor. Awesome. Awesome, it's looking good. So to get into these bits, I'm actually holding the flat of the blade here. Okay, notice I'm never actually touching the blade or the edge of the blade. My finger is set firmly on the side, and then the rest of it is still on the handle, and it's just to give precision and stability. Almost done with this bit. You know what? I think we're almost there. We've got a little bit here. And I think that'll do it. Okay, I am going to add a few grooves in here. A few, he says. And this is just to, again, enhance that battle worn look. We don't want this to be perfect. Okay, and then I'm just going to once again run a little glue over it just to soften those edges. And you know what? I think while we're here, we can just straight up glue the arm together. And that goes right in there. I'm not really liking that. So what I tend to do for these big joins is I will get a bit of sprue goo. We don't need a lot, just a bit, and we're just going to put a lump in here. Now something I like to do is I will then go back to my extra thin and I will use it to thin and spread around the sprue goo, just so that it's a bit more even, and then we can put this in. Okay, this is going to give us a really strong finish. So let's get that back in there, and then once again just come back in with the applicator with your extra thin and just go around those edges, clearing up any gaps or any overspill from the sprue goo, and don't throw it on the floor like I just did. Alright, so that is the easy arm. Now for the hard one. What we need is an arm that is going to hold this axe in a position that we want, and can work in such a way that it doesn't get in the way of the armor that we've been modifying. Okay, so you can see with this one, this arm sticks out quite wide, and unfortunately this is the only one of this arm that I had available to me, because this I think is from a different kit altogether from the ones that I bought off eBay. So this does not help me. There are no arms there. And there are no arms here. I'm actually very short on arms, which is concerning. The only arms that I have this one here, and I have this one here. all of the other arms are for the other side. And I've only got a few of those as well. So I'm thinking I'm going to use this one. And I'm imagining as this guy is holding his out quite high up, almost like a staff, I think the other guy is going to hold it much lower. And I think he's going to hold it. He could actually hold it in the same place. Okay, or he could hold it down here instead. Okay, and I think that might actually look a lot better. So we're going to cut this arm off and we're just going to play around with it a little bit. Just to see how it comes together. First of all, the ever important mold line needs to be removed. Let me do that. That should help a little bit. And let's just grab this, spin it around. Okay, so we could go here, or we could hold this up much higher, and I actually think that is going to look better if he holds it from the higher angle. So there is, yeah, because that arm is quite low. It's also very close to where the legs are. Now I can bulk this out and have it come out a little bit more. And I could, with a bit of modification, have it so it's being held up this in a similar way as the other one. But I think I like this lower look. And maybe he could be holding it at his side here. So it's something akin to this. That's the theory. So first things first, this orc arm needs to go. So let's start there. I'm going to make a cut here. And then we're going to spin around. Flat side against the hands. And we're going to cut there. I'm trying to preserve the handle, but I don't think that's going to work. Okay, so that's off. We can save that for another day. So we could hold it in the same place, but I think it's just too heavy. I think it will just look too heavy. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. Okay, we're just cutting these extra bits of the handle that remain off, and that's gonna give us a flat base. and hope that we don't cut the handle off by accident. Same again, just try and make it as flush as we can. It's going to give room for our plastic rod. Good stuff, and then same on the other side, we're going to clean that up. Okay, and then I think we're good. I'm just going to run the file over it. And this side is fine. So we just need a bit of rod to go in there. But we also need to connect the hand, which goes here, which means we have to separate these two parts as well, because that's where it's going to go. We also need a hand for this side. So let's have a see. What do we have? We've got a bunch of sword hands. But I think, the clubs are better because it's not right up against the hand guards. So we are... Nope, these are the wrong side. They're for the wrong hand. So I can't use those. What side is the... This is the same issue. So is this, because these are all the same sprue. And then... So that leaves us just these ones from the sword, or we dive into the bits box. So give me a second. Bits box time. Punch the microphone at the same time. Now, I don't have a lot in here in the way of ogre bits, but I do have a few Ogrin bits, and I'm curious to see what. Okay, so that is an Ogrin hand. That is actually tiny in comparison, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite a bit smaller. Okay, so that's not going to work. We're going to have to take from one of the sword arms, which is fine. We can do that. I was just looking for an easy way out. But sometimes that don't always work. So, let's grab the sword arm. Let's do this one. And what we want to do is we want to transplant this arm onto this hand as per the design, but without the sword, because we want this hand to go in here. Okay, that is the theory. Now all we have to do is put it off. So the sword is sacrificial, so we cut everything off. That bit just pinged off into the abyss. And then we are going to just cut that off. Which actually came off a lot better than what I was thinking it would. So that's great. We can use that for a different project. And as always, we're just going to clean it up. That's looking good. Do the same for the connection point at the wrist. Now what we're going to do is fix up any mold lines that I've missed. And I'm going to attach the hand to the arm first. So first let's soften that up. Same here. Let me just zoom out just a fraction. And then we are going to do our sprue glue thing again. We only need a very small bit. Just a little drop. And then get our hand in there. Okay. You're going to see that bead out. Any excess. And we're just going to fix that with the extra thin. Just thin it down, move it around the connection points so that when it dries, you're going to have a nice, solid and stable piece. Okay. So, this is what it would look like if it were in here. And this is what it would look like up here. Okay, now I think this is going to look better up the top as it is going to look down the bottom. Okay. And that's because I just think the it'll look top heavy because of the angle it's going to be. Okay, so if I just coax that into the slot where the arm is supposed to go, that's what we're looking at, basically. As opposed to this, which just looks a little too much. Okay, so I think I'm going to go here. I might end up removing this. I haven't decided yet. So I want to let this arm dry off a little bit before I do anything to it. So what we need is a little bit of plastic rod. So this is polystyrene rod. This is 2mm. And we only need just a little bit. It's about 2 squares worth. And what I do, apart from knocking you guys off of alignment, what I do is when I have roughly where I want it to cut, is I just put the blade on here. And instead of cutting down, which can result in you going into a bit of an angle, is I just roll it. Okay. That has flown off, but I've got it right here. Okay, and that should give you mostly a relatively straight cut, as opposed to accidentally going off at an angle and then trying to fix it. This is much more effective. And I actually got that idea from cutting up root vegetables, like big root vegetables like butternut squash and pumpkins and things like that. You roll it and it will cut right through for you, as opposed to you trying to force your way through. So what we need to do is drill a hole, or a couple of holes, because we need to pin this into place, because we don't want it to accidentally come off. So I'm just making a pilot hole first. Some of these already have a bit of a pilot hole, which is nice, but we're just making sure. And this is just so that our drill stays where it should be. Okay. And I'm actually going to go with the other side. And you just need to go really slowly and try and remain as straight as possible. Now, this is going to be wrapped up in that waxed thread I was talking about earlier. So I'm not too worried about going slightly off of course and drilling out the side, because it's going to be hidden anyway. But those pilot holes are super useful in making sure that your alignment is correct. And I think we are very close. I'm going to coax this out, remove this, and then I'm just going to, let's see, it's right there I think. So I'm just going to go back in. Take your time. There we go, we've got new plastic coming out. I think we're there, because I think I just drilled into my gloves. I did. Okay, you can see I am a little bit off, which is unfortunate. I should have gone in from the other side. That was a bit foolish of me. But we can fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the other side. And we're just very slowly. First of all, I think I'm going to carve out a little bit. But ultimately, I'm not overly worried. I just want it to sit as straight as I can. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to fix that, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Now, what I need is a paper clip. And mine are over here. Will you stop it? Thank you. My fan getting a little excited. Okay, so here's my paper clip. And unfortunately, I only have plastic covered ones right now. But it's not a big deal. We'll just cut it off. So, here we go. Get that out of the way. And we're just going to feed that through. Okay. If it's not going through right away, just spin it. Okay? And that will help it. Okay, so we're starting to get an idea of what we have. Now, I'm thinking I'm actually going to remove the handguard. Okay. This is going to come off. Do again from the other side. Lovely. And just get that back down to where we need it to be. I'm being quite aggressive with it, just to get that material off. I will come back to that in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in this part. Okay, I'm a little off. I'm a little bit off center. So let's just try and angle it back to where it needs to be. Bring this back out and we're just going to thread that on. Like so. And there we go. That is basically it. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to super glue that into place so that it's secure, and then we can cut off the other end and begin working on the other side, and then we will have our ogre weapon. Okay, so let's grab some super glue. If I can open it. Gonna have to deglove, I think. Nope. I think I need to bust out the hardware. Let me see, where are my wires? Nope, that's not going to work either. Man, I love it when your super glue glues itself shut. Yeah, no, that's not going to work. Okay, that particular super glue has an applicator that I wanted to use as opposed to going at it raw, but this will have to do. So we just want a little bead of super glue on there, and the reason we're doing that is because we are working with metals and plastic at the same time, and I just feel a bit more comfortable with this being glued in place right away. Or at least I hope so. Okay, I'm being quite liberal with it. And again, that's because we're going to be covering it, so I'm not particularly worried. I think that's beginning to stick, if it will stay still. We're just going to wait a minute. I'll put that there. There, stay there, don't move. So we're going to wait for that to dry before we do the other side. In the meantime, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the hand guard. Okay, and we're going to repurpose that for something else. We're just going to deal with this. Bit of a mold line that I missed. That I actually thought was part of the model. That is not. That is part of the sprue. So let's get rid of that. There it is. Okay. Okay, and we're going to drill in on this side too. And that is going to be the other side of the pin. So we're just going to get right in there. And you want to go a little bit deeper than what you might think, and the reason for that is you need enough of the pin in the plastic so that it has a proper anchor. Let's have a look. That is still moving. I bet you I touch it and it'll just glue to me instead. Okay, That's fine. I want to cut this off about here. Yep, it's already tried to stick to me. Great. Thrilled. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to let this dry before we can actually attach it to the arm, because we will have to pin it again. So what will happen is we are then going to make a cut from here to here to put the hand in. Okay, and that's going to be pinned too. Now until this sets, I can't do anything, so I'm going to cheat. We're going to cheat. I need my stuff. If I knew where my stuff was. There it is. So this is some bicarbonate soda. If you are unfamiliar with this method, in order to get your super glue to dry particularly fast, you can sprinkle or dunk. So you can either sprinkle some bicarbonate of soda over it or dunk it in the bicarbonate of soda. Okay? And that will make it set instantly. Okay? However, you will get a raised texture. But that is still not cooperating, which is highly unusual. That is very unusual. So what that means is I probably used too much super glue at once, which can sometimes happen. So we're just going to do a quick bit of cleanup. And we're just going to redo that. And I'm just going to dunk it. There we go. And that is somewhat solid. Okay. Okay, so that is that, and then we're going to wrap it but I'm going to do that after I've done the other section. Now you can remove some of this crust if you want to. It really depends on what it is that you're trying to go for. I'm going more grimdark, so I'm not particularly worried. So I'll end up just painting that up like some sort of corrosion, whether it's rust or anything else. So the next bit is the hand. So first things first, I'm going to drill a hole in the hand. Okay, and we're basically just repeating the entire process all over again. And then by the time we're done, in theory, it should be seamless. Or at least seamless enough to look like he is just holding the weapon as if it were always one piece. So, here we are on the other side of the arm. That was nice and quick. That was quicker than I thought it was going to be. And we need some more paper clip. We're gonna shave that off, get rid of that plastic, we don't need it. And then, once again, just make sure everything is going together properly. There we go. Okay. So, next up, we need to sort out our weapon. So, we are going to cut from here to here. Okay. Now there is a wire that runs along here. Unfortunately, we are going to lose that. So it means that when we are doing the rest of the miniature, we need to replace that wire. And we can do that, that's not a problem. It's just something to be a little bit aware of. Okay. Well, if I thought about it, I would have clipped it. I would have used my clippers. There we go. And let's flatten that back down with the file. So that's one piece, and then the other. We've got to get the other side. Oh wow, this is awkward. So, where I've cut has actually led to the next pin, where the previous pin was. That was unexpected, but it's okay. It isn't a problem. we just carry on as normal. Don't worry about it too much. It's going to get covered up. So you just need a new hole for where the pin for the hand is going to go. And I'm going to try and just file it flat. Again, this is because I have metal files. Please don't ruin your other files on this. If you have this situation, the other option is to pin the hand in place and then just put a bit of green stuff in its place. So that's your option if you don't have metal files. Okay, so theoretically that should sit in there. Okay, you see I'm gonna have a bit of a gap anyway, so we're just gonna fix that later with green stuff. What I want to do is just take this little bit of trim on the edge off. And that's just going to go in there. Okay, so let's grab our super glue. And we want it so that is on the outside. And this is where we hope that the glue sets. If not, it's back to the baking powder. And it might have to be the case this time. Which isn't a problem. So let's grab this. Oh. It will go in there. Just want to get this excess out if I can. Unfortunately, that is where the glue went. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, and then we just need to attach this. Now, I'm not going to do that right away, and the reason for that, one is because I need to go before my phone explodes from overheating. And the second part is I need this section to dry properly. And the last part is because it may be necessary to add additional height to the model, depending on where the axe head is going to sit when we attach it. So let's have a quick look. Okay. Well, let me go get some blue tack. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what we have done today. When my fan isn't getting excited every time I lean over it. So let's put that away. I need my blue tack. Where did I put my blue tack? A question for the ages. So, what have we achieved today? First of all, our soon-to-be Chaos Ogryns has gone through a radical diet. We have cut away a huge chunk of his body. Okay, just for reference again, here is an unmodified ogre. Okay, we've ripped away his shoulders, a lot of his belly, all of his pectorals, his hips, and his back, and a little bit of his legs. So we've removed a lot. It's quite a radical move. You have to be brave to do this because these are expensive models. It's easy to get a little too attached to a point that you're not willing to take the risk. But it's totally worth it. Why did we do that? Okay, so the reason we did that is because we want to equip this Bullgrin armor. And what we've done is we have also helped to facilitate equipping this by removing a lot of this extra plastic that was inside. Okay, remember these are designed for Warhammer 40k Ogryns, and they're designed to, they're molded in such a way that they're designed to fit flush with the bodies. For the ogres being so big, it's not designed to do that. So we've had to cut away a lot of the extra material to make room for the body. On top of that, we have removed any Imperial iconography. In this case, we have removed the wings from the skull. And we have added additional battle damage. So we've drilled in extra holes, put in the cracks and any scratches too. We've done the same on the back. And you can see it's particularly shiny, and the reason for that is we have softened the edges by going over it with some Tamiya Extra Thin or any other poly cement that you have that will melt plastic. And what that does is it softens the edges and melts any residual fragments of plastic that you have left back into the model. And so it looks like it's on a similar level to what Games Workshop have had designed into it. So, how does this come together? Well, the idea here is, if we do this, okay, we also have our weapon, or one of our weapons, which is just the standard ogre stuff. Okay, we're also going to equip this onto here. It always looks a little messy when you blue tack everything, but that's kind of the point. So we equip this onto here. We equip this onto here. Right now he just has like a giant hook. So he just looks like he's going fishing right now. But here is the kicker. We can get this armor onto him. Now we have to do a bit of modification on the arms just to get it to fit more snugly the way that it was before. But ultimately, look at this. Okay. Look at this. Our ogre is now wearing Ogryn armor. Okay, and then we are going to equip the put the axe on here. Maybe add a little bit more height to it with another bit of plastic rod, and he will be ready in his most basic form. That's without all of the other chaos bits. So that is him. This is the one that I made before. Okay, you can see that in full effect. You can see that I've used muslin to cover up a lot of the issues. You can also see through it that I've used green stuff to fill in any gaps that you can see. But ultimately, everything is in its proper place. He has chains from where he is broken free. Again, muslin coming out the back. I'm probably going to add just a little bit more. And that is also this guy in his basic form. Now, that is these two. But I have this guy. And I have this guy. Okay. Now these guys are not going to have the big axes. And they're not going to be wearing Bullgrin armor. These guys are going to be slightly different. And there's something I want to show you. Okay. This guy is going to be very much in his default fashion. Just with more 40k-ish weapons. And this is because this looks very much like the Wood Eater's icons. Now this is actually one of the many symbols that the ogres have for what they call the Great Maw, which is to do with their god or something, always eating stuff, which is why they're so big. But if you think about the World Eaters, right, it's a planet being consumed with jaws around it. It's basically the same thing. So this is why they're going to be corn. Okay. This guy has a different head. And you can see that I have not removed anything. In fact, I've added. Why? Well, I have this piece. So we know that they have these sort of belly shields. This guy is going to be having this as his shield, as his belly shield. And we've got a bunch of skulls that I've got lined up ready to be used across all of the models. And this is going to sit on here. Okay? Very nice. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's all I've got for you guys today. So thank you for coming down to this stream. It's been absolutely fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned a few things, and all I can say is thank you. And I will try and stream more regularly if you guys enjoyed this. It's going to be there's not going to be a regular system for live streams, and that's because I have to work it around my new job. I will try and get videos out to you again. I'll try and get another one out for you next week. I wasn't able to finish this one this week with the new job and getting sick at the same time, which is why we have the live stream. But I will get another one out for you to do with these ogres, hopefully by the end of next week. I will keep you guys up to date, and I will see you next time. Alright, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.